All right, the time is 3:01 on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. I'm calling to order the Board of Equalization. Today we have with us Commissioners Kelly, Burmeister, Mixon, and Klug, as well as our County Administrator, Bonnie Moore, Kendra Kaler from the Clerk and Register of Deeds Office, as well as Jeff Mikesell, our Treasurer, Dan Pittman, Assessor, I think. We have Denny Wilson, County Engineer, as well as David Jones, our Election Commissioner. Please silence your cell phones and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located in the north wall of the county boardroom. With that, we'll move to agenda item 4, which is public comments. Do you want to open up to anybody in the public that wishes to address the board before moving on to the rest of the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda 5 is a consent equalization agenda. Would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Burmeister, second by Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
There's no need for executive session this afternoon. With that, the Board of Equalization, all agenda items having been addressed as published, the Board of Equalization is adjourned. Time is now 3:03 p.m. Calling to order the Board of Commissioners. We have Commissioners Kelly, Burmeister, Mixon, and Klug, as well as Bonnie Moore, our County Administrator, Kendra Kaler from the Clerk and Register of Deeds Office, Jeff Mikesell, our County Treasurer, Denny Wilson, our County Engineer, and David Jones, our Election Commissioner. Once again, I would like to open up to public comment if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board before moving on to the rest of the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move to item 4, where Commissioners and Administrators' comments and announcements, starting with Commissioner Kelly.
I have nothing, thank you.
None, thank you.
No comments, thank you.
All right. Up next, item 5.1, presentations, Sarpy County Wastewater, Sarpy County and Cities Wastewater Agency. Quarterly update, Dan Hoynes, Wastewater Agency Director. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I got those divided correctly here. And I think
Loud and clear.
no, that's the dashboard maybe from last time. Did we get this up here, Bonnie?
Thank you.
Left. Got it. Thank you. Oh, no, wrong one. I still need coaching, Jose, so that looks like it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the County Board. Dan Hoynes, Sarpy County City and Wastewater Agency Administrator, here for the quarterly update. My understanding is you did get at least a chance to maybe view this presentation ahead of time, so I won't belabor each slide in a formal presentation, but rather I'll just call up each slide and point out one or two things I think probably are the most important and then pause for questions, if that's okay with you. Some of the important things we're working hard on, have been for months, it seems like, is the WIFIA loan modification. We've addressed that several times here over the course of the last year almost. The good news is WIFIA has accepted all of the documentation that they'd requested from us to do the scope change. Important to the discussion, bullet point 2, the modifications, inclusion of the Springfield decommissioning cost, inclusion of the Sarpy decommissioning cost, and authorizes the use of WIFIA funds for design and permitting for phase 1B and 2. I think of particular interest, and again, we've talked about this before here, our projected use of the $45 million loan is only going to be $33 million on our best estimate. So I think that's good news for a lot of reasons. the next slide is really what the 7 or 8 things that we have to go through the process that we'll follow to get to the approval. Once we receive the WIFIA, they're modifying the actual loan documents, board. They'll send them to us, then I'll send them to Bonnie. Internally, we'll review them as an agency. Then we'll do a joint review with just the county folks. We'll do a joint submission to WIFIA. We'll have a meeting with WIFIA agency SARPI, and then submit the agency member administrators for review. Then it goes to the Sarpy County Board for approval, agency board approval, and finally the WIFIA execution of the loan modification. So I'll pause there for just a moment maybe, and if you have any questions or need more insight on that, that's really...
Would you be restructuring the loan and the
It will be
interest
a loan
rate?
modification, Commissioner.
Pardon?
It will, no, not the interest rate, I'm sorry. The interest rate remains the same.
Okay. But you'd be restructuring the length of the loan? Or
No, all of the amortization schedules, the only thing that would change is they would be authorizing the use of the funds for those 3 specific items that I mentioned earlier, the 2 decommissionings and the design permitting.
And all other items remain the same then?
Yes, that's correct.
Are all those inclusive in the 33 million, or is that too?
All inclusive.
Okay, thank you.
That's projected end use. All right, so moving on quickly here. I think you can see it here. So the difference between this chart, and by the way, our agency CFO is here too. If you have questions for him, he presented this chart. I read the chart. So if you want to look into the layers, he's certainly here and can help me. But if we borrowed $45 million, give me a pointer, the second chart here, at the end of the day, that would require a reserve backing of $10.7 million at the end of 2035, and you can see how it increases, and this is on the $45 million draw. If we close the loan out at 33, commissioners, it's a be $9.1 million of reserve backing. So basically, the lesser draw or use of the funds results in about $1.5 million less of the SRF reserve obligation that is an obligation at this point of Sarpy County. So about $1.5 million on the less.
So the original projections had kind of a pinch point in 2030, right? For the projected revenues versus what we needed for the reserve, right?
Correct.
So how does the loan modification alter that pinch point projection? And are there updated projections of the revenue? Or am I jumping ahead of where?
No. You got it. I didn't include, that's a very good question on there. So the original projections in that pinch point year of 2031 had our debt service coverage ratios at 1.1. And that is as low as we can go without defaulting on the WIFIA loan, the SRF loan, at 1.1, at the full $45 million borrow. The $33 million borrow takes us at that pinch point to a 3.3, Commissioner Burmeister. So it more than almost triples the room that we have before we get close to, not having enough money to make the payments.
I would really like to get an updated version of that graph, whether it's later this week or next week, just to see where it was at and where we're projecting now.
That's very fair. I tried to stop at like fewer than 10 slides, but very fair question. I'll send that to Bonnie tomorrow and she can pass it on to you. But certainly something we've analyzed and both with our consultants and staff. But 3.3 is the number, the debt service ratio. Any other questions on the coverage or the debt service? Moving on to the next topic, and just looks really text heavy, and it took a lot of work and a lot of cooperation to get to this, the amendment to the Gretna Service Agreement. And again, you've had a chance to look at it, and I'll just tell you the importance of this document that was approved in July allows what I frequently refer to as member autonomy as a sewer agency for the 5 members to really dictate how and when they can develop. Because as it stands now, we've borrowed all the money we intend to borrow. more than once have said that. So if we're going to build additional lines, we've got to find additional sources. And that's what Gretna had been asking for almost 2 years, to reach some agreement where they could advance the lines and get some level of reimbursement back. So while this only impact is a single agreement between the agency and Gretna, I think it sets the framework for any other member wanting to advance a line that comes through. We certainly have the framework. Those key provisions, the 100% of the connection fees are going to stay with the agency. I think I'm bullet point 2 with the arrows. And 25% of the user rates are remitted to the agency. Now that, the agency has no responsibility to build those lines, but we had planned on those revenues. That's why it took 2 years to get there. We're going to keep those, and I'm going to jump to the next slide in the fiscal impact analysis on the Gretna agreement's 10-year development projection, which is consistent with all of our other financial projections of the agency. At full build-out, the agency would generate, at today's dollars, 2025, $30.8 million in just that Gretna 1,100 acres, and user rates of 851,000. So the total to the agency would be 31.7. Gretna, on the other hand, by keeping their user rate revenues, would generate about $2.5 million off of the development to help them offset some of the costs that they have. But overall, Gretna will be pumping north to Omaha. I'm going to be very clear about that in their area, because we're a long way from Gretna. Effectively from 144th Street or Highway 50 to Gretna. They'll be pumping north, but everything's being designed that when the agency gets out there where Gretna builds it, the switch can be flipped, if you will. They'll come to us. It's all going to be designed so that once we get there, that flow can be switched in there. So any questions on the Gretna agreement? Again, it's only between, we have 6 members, it's 1, but I think the discussions I've been having with some of them, there's going to be some other interest across the agency jurisdiction. And this map, that's a little bigger up there. So Gretna is right up in this ZC3 basin, basically 204th Street, running down to about Platteview is the area, the 1,100 acres that they now will service through their system until we're able to get out there. But when I refer to Phase 1B, it's the blue, this the Springfield area, the Papillion area. There's a little Phase 1B over here in Bellevue. And then the green, Phase 2's the large project to get out to Gretna. And that's the approved master plan with the Gretna amendment. Real quick, just kind of wind down. We did finish our fiscal year since I last reported there. Our connection fee revenue was $3.4 million. That was about 2.2 more than we needed to pay our mortgage. Flow revenue we started to get, thank you, folks, SARPI folks, and others, 136,000. Our expenses, we only spent about 62%, but that primarily was, project cost savings in there. The loan balances are $90.7 million. In total, you got 68.8, 3.25, and 18.6 as of June 30 of the $45 million WIFIA loan. So any other questions or comments on the fiscal year-end numbers? Moving forward, working on finalizing the WIFIA loan modifications, and again, the design and permitting for phases 1B and 2 are really the high-level things. We're working internally with the members on an update to our growth management plan, which is really important. That's effectively a sewer comp plan. Should come through lots of issues there, and we've got a committee working on that. So that concludes my presentation. Certainly willing to answer any questions that you folks have.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions? Appreciate your time. Thank you.
I'll get that to you tomorrow, Bonnie, on that. Thank you.
All right, up next we have agenda item 5.2, which is the Nebraska Association of County Officials. NACO Executive Director John Cannon. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Chairman Klug, Commissioners on the Sarpy County Board of Commissioners. My name is John Cannon, Joncannon. My business address is 1335 H Street, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68508. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for allowing me some time on the agenda today. As the NACO Executive Director, I feel it's important for us to get out to the counties and kind of explain what we're up to and the sorts of things that we have going on. As your association, we're a membership organization owned 100% by all 93 Nebraska counties. And so while it's fun to invite everybody to, the conferences that we have or the workshops or whatever, I find that's way more important and more meaningful when we go to where people live. And so that's, I feel that we owe it to you as your organization. I consider myself an employee of all 93 counties. And so that is, in fact, why I show up here once a year. And if you guys ever tell me to slow down on the pace of that, happy to do that. But if you tell me that we need to be here more frequently, we will do that as well. So that is the nature of the job. And so what I want to describe as far as NACO is concerned, what I'm here for is to describe the sorts of resources that we have available, the things that we are working on in Lincoln. And a lot of folks, when I talk to them, they say, well, NACO is a lobbying organization. I don't think that's entirely true. Frankly, I think that we are responsible for providing resources to counties. I would say that advocacy is probably the second most important thing that we do. The most important thing, I think, are the educational platforms that we provide. And so I'll go through some of them very, very quickly. We have a number of workshops that we put on throughout the year. We help with the assessors workshop, which is in August, the clerks and the treasurers, who will both have their June workshops. We have our board workshop that we do in June of every year. We have a Board of Equalization workshop where we do most years. That's also in June, concurrent with the board workshop. We have our new board member orientation every 2 years after an election. We hold that in January of each year to kind of get them up to speed a little bit, and that's usually fairly well attended. We have our board chair workshop that we do in February of each year. That is, chairs are always welcome, and I know you got your invite and for next year, and we'll make sure that you're there in February. We have a legislative conference that we do every year, and this is the conference where the NACO board takes its legislative priorities for the upcoming session. As you know, the session will start in I think it's the first Wednesday in January. Don't ask me to calculate what actual date that is. But what we do at the NACO Legislative Conference is a number of folks, the assessors, the clerks, the treasurers, the county attorneys, the county sheriffs, all those offices, they will come before the NACO board and they'll say, here are things that we think should change legislatively in order for us to do our jobs a little bit more efficiently. One of the things that I've tried to make a point of is making sure that boards they also feel welcome to make some sort of pitch to the board about, from your view, and it's a very unique view. You have like that 30,000, I'm not going to say it's better or worse than all the row offices, but you have that unique view as to how county government works. And we want the opportunity for board members to go in front of the NACO board and say, here's how we think county government could be operated a little bit more efficiently. And so that will be October 9th in Beatrice. That's traditionally held in the county wherever our past president is from. We had a little wonky thing with our past president. Last year's president was Marv Cohout from Saline County. He didn't run last year, and so we had a vacancy. As it turns out, Terry Keebler, who's the assessor from Johnson County, had been a president of NACO and was voted out of office during his presidential year. So he got to enjoy his past presidential year, just removed by about 13 years. So that worked out for us as an organization. It worked out for Terry as an individual. So we're pretty happy with how that worked out. But Terry's from Johnson County. So he lives in Tecumseh. About halfway between Tecumseh and Crete is Beatrice. And that's kind of how we came up with that. We also have our annual conference. That's December 17th through 19th. That'll be out in Kearney. Every year, the NACO board, we put in front of them, here are the places that we could go. Here are the contracts that we have with the Unis Center. The Central Nebraska, that's usually where the board votes to go, but we've had in the past, we've gone to, I think we had one downtown in Omaha one year, and I think there was another year where we were in Lincoln, but that was before my time at NACO, so I'll disclaim any of that. Those are the educational opportunities that we have. For each of these things, I'm not just saying, hey, come to our workshop. There's actual content there. As you might expect, the assessor, clerk, treasurer, those are things that are very specific to them. For new board members, we go through a lot of Robert's Rules of Order and those sorts of things. For board chairs, there's a little more intensive conversation about Robert's Rules. And for the annual conference, what the sorts of presentation and the information that we provide, those are going to be geared toward common issues that all counties have. And so lately, the last couple of years, we've been focusing a lot on budgets and property tax caps because that's what the legislature has seen fit to make a priority for all of us. We invite our federal partners and our state partners to come make presentations as well. And so we'll have stuff for the highway superintendents, for the weed superintendents, et cetera. So in a nutshell, those are the educational opportunities that we have. By the way, if you have any questions, please stop me. I know I speak quickly, and I'll at some point my throat's going to, or my mouth's going to get fairly dry. So please stop me if you feel the need. Next, I want to talk a little bit about advocacy. So the legislature is going to be, they're going to be convening in early January of next year. And sitting where I sit, we're catty corner from the Capitol. And so in the last month, I've seen a much steadier stream of people going into and out of the Capitol, which means that people are starting to gear up. As I like to put it to the staff, they're starting to plot against us. That's not true. I have nothing but the highest respect for our legislature, but it sure feels like that sometimes. We've been having a lot more meetings inside the Capitol regarding a number of different issues. Just as a for instance, coming up, and as you all know, H.R. 1 was signed by the U.S. Congress, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. There are certain things that are going to be cuts to services that states have traditionally relied on and sometimes counties. In our case, in the state of Nebraska, there's going to be about $405 million cut from Medicaid. That is going to filter through to a lot of programs that we rely on. And so advocacy this year is going to be an all-time necessity. And so just a couple of things that we've been working on. Traditionally, there's a county bridge match program, which the state has funded to the tune of about $40 million over the last several years. That is because there's a number of bridges across the state of Nebraska, and you have a number of bridges in Sarpy County that are in critical condition. That county bridge match program has the state provide a 55% match to the county's 45% share so that we can get some of these bridges replaced. And there's a committee that meets, and it's made up of a couple highway superintendents as well as some people from the Department of Transportation. They meet and they figure out which bridges are in most need of repair and how can we get the most bang for our buck for the allocation we have for this year. That funding is going to be in a critical spot. And so that's in jeopardy. The Department of Transportation has said, we're not advocating for it. NACO, you guys had better do so. And so my pitch to you guys by mentioning this, engage your, and you've heard me say this before, engage your legislative delegation. We have good relationships with all of your senators. You guys have much better relationships with all of your senators. And so that's my ask, is that these things really need to be items that we discuss with them. We also have a riparian vegetation management fund that we've been working on. Several years ago in 2007, the state of Kansas sued the state of Nebraska because we were not abiding by the terms of the Republican River Compact, whereby we're required to send so many acre feet of water to the state of Kansas per year through the Republican River Basin. We had allowed Phragmites to grow. We weren't spraying for it adequately, and so Kansas wasn't getting its allocation, and they sued us. And when states sue other states, that happens in the U.S. Supreme Court. Kansas sued us for $100 million. That's a lot of money. So through a number of mitigation efforts that the state of Nebraska made and the state of Nebraska funded weed mitigation and spraying programs, we were able to reduce that down to a $7 million payout to the state of Kansas. To me, I think that's a heck of a return on your investment. You spend a few $1 million to not have to pay an extra $100 million. I think that's probably wise. But that funding over time, it was recognized as a need in 2007. That funding over time has gone down. Whereas last year we had an $800,000 appropriation, and that got swept as part of LB 34 and the School Property Tax Credit Act from last year. So these are funding sources that are critical that are going away, and unless we really buck up and fight for them. A couple other things that we've been talking about with the folks in the legislature. There was an AG opinion that was issued a couple of months ago about trespass with the county assessor. Basically, it said that if the county assessor does not have previous authorization from the owner of property, that them going onto property could be considered trespass, and they can be cited for it. There is a statute, Nebraska Revised Statute Section 771311.03, which requires the assessor to do an inspection no less frequently than once every 6 years. And so how the assessor is supposed to meet that obligation, but oh, by the way, they can't actually inspect the property, that's something that's going to need to be resolved. And so we have been working with folks in the legislature to find a sponsor to make sure that we can get it through the committee process quickly and heard on the floor. And again, something that we would sure like you to visit with your delegation about. The other thing we've been working on over the interim has been the pink postcard bill. I made the mistake of referring to it as the pink postcard. In Douglas County this morning, they use a green postcard. Everyone else uses pink. So there you go. For what it's worth, when Senator Hansen was implementing this bill several years ago, he said he wanted it to be a pink postcard, and I said, look, Senator, we can't say that's going to be magenta number 5 card stock because that's ridiculous. What if someone runs out? And so the next iteration, the next amendment, he had magenta number 5 in there, and I'm like, you weren't supposed to take me seriously, especially when I told you not to take me seriously. And he took it out and he said, John, I just want you to know I want the postcards to be pink. Douglas County said, we're going to make them green. So good for them. That's great. They're allowed to do so. There's no color specification. We may have, with our partners at the state print shop, we may have printed the cards in magenta number 4. Who's to say? There's a number of hearings that are coming up October 3rd of next month that I'd like to inform you about that are part of legislative resolutions. The first one is LR 195. That has to do with unfunded mandates. Senator Holdcroft is carrying that LR for us. That is going to be heard in front of the Government Committee. On October 3rd, there's also LR 192, which has to do with the Open Meetings Act and public records laws. That'll be heard by government. And then LR 118, I might have that number, it might be 118 or 119. That's going to have to do with ethanol plant valuations. You don't have a lot of ethanol industry in Sarpy County, but it is something that is a statewide concern. So those are some hearings that we're going to have on October 3rd. From our part, what we are doing at NACO, as you know, in this business, it's all about your relationships, and we've got relationships with everybody in the legislature. But again, I ask you to engage your delegation. But one of the things that we have been doing at NACO is starting at the end of last year, after the special session, knowing that it was in all likelihood Brad Von Gillern was going to be the chair of revenue. I visited with Senator Von Gillern multiple times. He probably got annoyed with me, and I said, Senator, there's a lot of times that we go in front of the Revenue Committee, and there's stuff that's very, very basic about how the property tax works that we have to explain before we can get to whatever our position is. If there is a chance for us to get that information out in front of the Revenue Committee before we actually get into hearings, I think that would be helpful for all of us. And he agreed, mostly because I kept annoying him. And so we had a property tax 101 or a property tax workshop at the end of January of this year. And Senator Von Gillern said, hey, would you mind if I invited the freshmen? I said, the more the merrier, let's do it. So we had 17 senators in our conference room. We had pretty much a day about talking about property taxes, everyone's favorite subject. And at the end of that, Senator Von Gillern said, that was great, let's do this again. So last month we had 50 people in our conference room. We had 25 senators, 13 other offices sent staff. We had the Speaker of the Legislature, Senator Arch. We had the Chair of Revenue, the Chair of Education, the Chair of Natural Resources, the Chair of Ag, Chair of Banking and Business and Labor, Chair of Banking and Insurance. So a lot of people that were very, very interested and had a vested interest in talking about property taxes and understanding how the process works. We have another workshop that we're going to be doing tomorrow. Right now, last I heard, we have 20 people that have RSVP'd for that. So that's what we're doing on the engagement side. One other thing I would like to mention as far as engagement that we put out there, and it's kind of a mix of all the things that we do, we have our County Explorer on our webpage. So if you go to nebraskacounties.org, and you go and look under counties, there's a Counties Explorer. There will be all sorts of information. You can go to the map and hover over Sarpy County. There's all sorts of information there, more information than you ever wanted to. How many open wells you have, how much, how many acres of production you have, how much is in row crop, how much is in this crop, and et cetera. There's a ton of information out there. We also have a one-pager that you give to your constituents. I would encourage you to take a look at that. I usually bring copies, but I've been on the road for the last couple of days, so my apologies for that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, do I have time, Bonnie?
Probably
kind of wrap this thing up. I'll go very quickly. So a number of things that we partner with folks. NACO Benefit Services is our insurance pool, along with some other insurance products that we offer. We have a Live Healthy discount program through the National Association of Counties that we've offered. We have a retirement webinar that we're going to be doing in partnership with Nationwide on September 26th. Contact me if you'd like information about that. We partnered with Savvy, which is a student loan forgiveness program it's through a private insurer. It's not any of the federal stuff that you've heard about in the papers. Again, our legislative conference on October 9th. In November, we're going to be doing Operation Greenlight again to recognize our veterans, and we're going to have a toolkit for actionable items for county boards and counties to do. We recently did partnered with the Government Finance Officers Association to come up with risk models in the new environment that we have for our budgets, where we have this index that we have to abide by. And also with the threat of the inheritance tax being taken away by the legislature, one of the things that we wanted to really start promoting was every county should have a reserve. And you're entitled by law to have a reserve. And the question is, what should that reserve look like? And the rule of thumb has always been about 2 months of operating expenses. For different counties, that's a little bit different. And so we've partnered with GFOA to come up with risk models and a template for that. If you're interested in that, contact the office and we can tell you where Sarpy County would land, and you can plug in all your numbers and figure that out. The last thing I want to mention is that we recently became 100% members of the National Association of Counties. All 93 counties are members of the National Association as well. It's been something that we've been working on for several years. We get an extra board seat on there. So we have 4 out of 150 people are from Nebraska. National NACO has celebrated 90 years of electing National Association presidents, and 4 of them have been from the state of Nebraska as well. So one, Gene Meredith in the 40s from Kimball County, the other 3 all from Douglas County. I'd sure love to have someone from Sarpy County as part of that group as well. Happy to take any questions you have. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time and update as well. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, John, are you guys working on a, election year next year or so? Salaries are going to need to be set by all the county boards for elected officials. Are you guys working on a composite?
Yes, sir, we are. Okay. So you'll recall last year we did a salary study for employees, for courthouse employees, and that had a GIS component to it. We're going to do the same thing this year. And so when you're setting the salary, you have an obligation by law to set salaries on or before January 15th of next year, so the people that are running for office next year know how much the job pays. And several years ago in the 70s, there was someone I think it was the Dundee County clerk, was being paid $3,000 or something like that. And the senator from that area said, well, the legislature should set the salaries for all county officials. And my predecessor, Jack Mills, said, that's a terrible idea. Why don't you guys set a minimum, and we'll do a salary study every year to get this information to our county officials. And so that GIS function that we'll have as part of the salary study, it'll be released on October 9th as part of our legislative conference. A link will be sent to every clerk across the state at the same time. As much as I'd like to say you should go to the legislative conference, you don't have to if you want to get the salary study. And that GIS component, it'll allow you to select all the counties surrounding you, all the counties with a similar evaluation, all the counties of a similar population, however you want to mix and match to find out what's truly comparable. In addition to that, it's not just going to be us comparing salaries with other counties' officials. We'll have what we think are the equivalents for private industry as well. So you've got at least you have that information to draw on. You're under absolutely no obligation to use that information, one way or the other. It's just there as a tool for you.
Okay, thanks. And
yes,
then
sir.
The other thing that came up recently is, the voters approved medical marijuana, and the rollout of it was a complete disaster, in that they grouped these folks by judicial districts instead of by counties for approval. And then we didn't know if we had to approve it or we were supposed to approve it. I mean, it's just been very, very confusing for both county boards, but also for the people that are applying for these licenses to distribute, grow, whatever package. I don't know. There's like 5 different functions, but any outlook on maybe tightening that up in the next session?
Yeah, there's going to be a bill regarding that, and we've got draft regulations that are have been promulgated by the commission, and to echo your point, they're not entirely satisfactory
Right.
as far as figuring out what it is a county's obligation is when they receive an application. We'll be working with the legislature on figuring out what that should look like and making sure that local control is preserved.
All right, appreciate that. Thanks for all you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to item 6 is the consent commissioner's agenda. These are items of regular business which are expected to be adopted without dissent. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Burmeister, second by Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
All right, moving on to the regular agenda. 7.1 is a public hearing and recommendation to the Liquor Control Commission for Queen Pearl Nails LLC for Class I beer, wine, spirits on sale only liquor license for business at 16918 Morgan Avenue, Suite 8, Gretna, Nebraska 68028. Welcome.
My name is Duke Tran, appearing on behalf of the applicant and the manager application. I'm here to answer any question you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, I would. This is a public hearing. Do you want to open up to if anybody from the public wishes to address the board on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Burmeister. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
Thank you for coming. 7.2 is a public hearing and recommendation to the Liquor Control Commission for Hy-Vee Inc. for a catering endorsement to their existing Class C liquor license for business at 10855 South 191st Street, Gretna, Nebraska 68136. Katie Nyland, licensing specialist. She is here. All right, apparently not. This is a public hearing. I do want to open it up if anybody wishes to address the board on this item. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Burmeister, second by Kelly. Any discussion? Please vote. We're all in favor. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
All right, moving on to 7.3 is Resolution 2025-251, sales agreement with Daktronics for the new scoreboard for Warner Park in the amount of $790,650. Assistant County Administrator Tom Dargy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. In 2024, we commissioned a study by HDR, a facility study of the park, and one of the results of that study was that the scoreboard was going to need to be replaced before the 25-26 season. And with that, we have money in the Capital X project to get that done. The contract is going to be with Daktronics. Originally, we were quoted a price of $840,000. I'm happy to report we got that down to $790,650. And so staff recommends approval for that, and we are hoping to have that ordered and installed prior to the first game in March of 2026. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have for me.
So I was just wondering, I didn't see a picture of what it's going to look like in the package. Is it?
It's essentially
any
going to be the same size as the main scoreboard that's there. And then if you recall, right below that, there was actually an old style scoreboard. And so it will include that. So it'll be one big board.
Oh, okay. And then it'll have room for advertising and all
Yep,
that.
it'll have room for advertising. There's a lot more different things that they can do with the technology that exists now. And it'll sit on the same footings and everything else, so we don't have to replace
Second
any of that.
scoreboard going to be upgraded as well?
The what scoreboard?
The second one on first baseline that sits below the box?
Not yet. Probably in the next couple of years, we'll look at replacing that one as well, though.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, any further questions?
What did you say about the old-fashioned scoreboard underneath it?
Well, the one that just strictly calls balls, strikes, and runs. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, geez, for $790,000, we could bring back Cracker Jack so we can have kids go up and hang.
Change the scores.
Yeah,
That's right.
be a lot cheaper.
It would be.
Thank you,
I won't
Tom.
argue that.
Was entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by Mixon. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
All right, item 7.4 is Resolution 2025-246, Professional Services Agreement with Midwest Right-of-Way Services for the Northwest Sarpy Road Improvements, Project C77 25-14 in the amount of $387,755. Deputy Administrator Scott Bovee.
Thank you, Commissioners. Northwest Sarpy Road Network project continues to push on. We've got a couple, Harrison Street, Giles Road, Cornhusker, all under construction. If you remember when we issued those bids, they all came in under the engineer's estimate. The agreement before you today is to hire Midwest Right-of-Way Services to conduct right-of-way work acquisition for the 222nd, 225th Street, and then Cary Road section or Cary Street section of the area there. So we did have a meeting, Commissioner Warren, along with the County Engineer's Office and JO, the consulting group, to walk through each parcel of right-of-way, just to have an understanding of what we're going to be acquiring and the impacts to those folks. And based on that, I think Midwest Right-of-Ways agreement is fair, and Zach Ergenrader with the County Engineer's Office and Dan Sartorius with JO have both committed to working with the property owners on impacts, which we think is a good personal touch out there for this project. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Scott. Any questions for Scott? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Give it to Gary.
Motion by Kelly, second by Mixon. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carried.
All right, item 7.5 is Resolution 2025-195, set salary of the Sarpy County Election Commissioner commencing January 1st, 2026. Commissioner Don Kelly.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. If you don't mind, I think I'd like to just get through the business part of this, the resolution first. And then afterwards, I'd like to introduce David. Even though he's been in the job since July, he really hasn't formally been, introduced or welcomed to the county. So I'd like to spend some time doing that. So if that's okay with you, let's just get through the business of the resolution, which is today we're here to set the salary for his position commencing on January 2026 and running through the end of 2029. So the most important part, there's a whole lot of what ifs and whereases and HR stuff that'll make your eyes water and statutory language, but the most important thing is the salary itself. So we're going to set the salary of the Sarpy County, or the proposal for this resolution is to set the salary for the Sarpy County Election Commissioner as follows. On January 1st, 2026, they shall be paid $115,529 per annum. That will increase to $119,921 for the year 2027. $124,487 for the year 2028, and $129,199 for the year 2029. So those are big numbers, and people often wonder, well, how did you do that? Well, it wasn't just chance and happenstance. We did comparables. We looked, as the third largest county and the fastest growing, we kept an eye on what was going trend-wise across the state of Nebraska and the roles, the responsibilities of this position to set this compensation. And there's a little bit of science to it, but there's also a little bit of art. So I think what we tried to do is find that sweet spot, or I call it the Goldilocks, not too high, not too low, just about right. And I think we achieved that. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 195, setting the salary for the election commissioner.
Second.
A motion by Kelly, second by Burmeister. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
Okay, great. So if you just allow me a couple minutes here. As I mentioned, David Jones was appointed by the governor, I want to say late June, early July. He actually started in his duties on July 18th as the Sarpy County Election Commissioner. But before that, David has a whole impressive career, depth and breadth of leadership. He graduated from the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, which set him off for 20-some years of service to his country as an Air Force officer and aviator, navigator by trade, and but then from there into various staff and leadership positions at the Air Force level. And then he retired, and he I would say after his public service, going into the private sector can be a little bit of a challenge for some folks because there's a lot of differences. But he got into some work, I would say that is pretty technical and required a lot of, I think I would say learning a lot of new traits. And he did that exceptionally well. He landed down at Gallup, working on the Gallup University campus down by the Missouri River north of downtown Omaha. And he spent a long time there. 8 years until this opportunity came open, and he decided, he wanted to go back into public service. So he applied for the position, and the governor was wise enough to select him. So congratulations, Governor Pillen, for that. Now, all that's impressive enough, but it's not as impressive as his probably most significant accomplishment, which I'm privy to because I've known David a long time. When David was a young man, before he is headed off to the Air Force Academy, he was a ball boy. I think that's what you call them. But anyways, they're the guys that sit on the team bench, and they hand out the towels and water bottles to the professional basketball players on the Boston Celtics. So now, any of you that ever followed professional basketball know that in the 1980s, that was Larry Bird's era, right? I mean, that was the Birdman. And if you go back and look, and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and what was his name? David, who was the guard, DJ?
Dennis Johnson.
That's right, David Johnson. I mean, they won the championship. Well, not every year, but every year that the Los Angeles Lakers did win it. So anyways, if you go back and look at any retro Celtics from 84, 85, I think that was the time period. You'll see David running up and down the bench. And just to show you that he once had hair, here's a picture of him and Michael Jordan from that time. Because, even though he worked for the Celtics, he got to meet a lot of great basketball players from the opposing teams too. So anyways, DJ, we're thrilled to have you on board. I think you're going to find this type of public service as much rewarding as you did your military service. And, elections are important. They've taken on even more importance because of questions about election security and integrity. But I know with your leadership, that will never come into doubt here in Sarpy County. So if you'd like to just come up and say a few words, we'd appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I don't know that I have ever blushed before, if you can see that, but yeah, it's happening right now. But first off, I want to say, I just want to thank God for the opportunity, transparently, and specifically, I'd like to thank Governor Pillen and his staff for his confidence in my abilities and integrity and confidence that to appoint me to such a daunting position, and but not only for the remainder of this term, but into the next term as well. While I was not initially looking or seeking out this position, as I became aware of it, there were several community leaders and friends that reached out and offered their support, and also to my wife and family, and I'm very glad that they did. And the timing of today's resolution is very fortuitous. As you may or may not know, today is National Voter Registration Day. It's also our son's birthday. In the short 2 months that I've been in the position, I've really been beyond impressed with the quality of the people that I've met here at the county overall and across, and particularly through our office. And after initial review of our current processes and getting to know our staff, I am definitely content that we have solid processes in place and truly have some of the most talented, hardworking, dedicated, and knowledgeable people around. And I credit that to my chief deputy behind me and also to my predecessor. While I'm content, I am not complacent. And I will continue to vet our policies and procedures, working with the Secretary of State's office and their folks to ensure that we not only are in compliance, but to use the words of the great hockey player Wayne Gretzky, that we skate to where the puck is going to be. But more specifically to my lineage and aviation, that we stay ahead of the aircraft. In closing, I look forward to continue to validate and improve our processes while while following all establishing laws, working with all of you commissioners to ensure the safety and security of our elections, as well as serving the great citizens of our county of Sarpy County to ensure free and fair elections. Thank you today for your time.
Welcome aboard, DJ.
Welcome, David. I already knew that you were an incredibly impressive individual even before your brush with the NBA. So the county is very, very blessed to have a person of your integrity in that role, and we thank you for taking it. All right, up next is item 7.6. Resolution 2025-247 is to set the salary for the Sarpy County Chief Deputy Election Commissioner commencing January 1st, 2026. Once again, Don Kelly, County Commissioner.
Okay, so I'm sure Michelle is petrified that I'm going to show pictures of her from her past, but I'm not. Michelle, you're safe. Okay, so let's just get to the business here. Michelle's been the deputy for quite a few years, and she's done a remarkable job. And DJ has already given me glowing accolades of her support and knowledge about the whole election process. So we are adjusting her salary starting on January 1st, 2026 to $103,976. And that will go up to $107,929 for 2027, $112,038 for 2028, and $116,279 in 2029. She'll, like David, have access to all the county's benefits and programs that we have as pseudo county employees. So I would like to propose that you guys support me in passing this resolution.
We have a motion by Kelly.
Second.
Second by Mixon. Any discussion from the board? Yes.
Just as these two agenda items are wrapping up, just want to say congratulations to both of you. And Commissioner Burmeister had a prior commitment. She had to step out, but she asked that I pass along congratulations to you as well.
Thank you, Bonnie. All right, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
All right, 7.7 is Resolution 2025-253 is increase the county match for the 457 Deferred Compensation Program for non-union employees from $1,040 to $1,560. Jody Riddell, Human Resources Director.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in July, this board approved the collective bargaining agreement or extensions of agreements for 6 bargaining groups across the county. Excuse me. 3 of those agreements included a county match for the 457 Deferred Compensation Program in the amount of $1,560. The resolution before you recommends the same county match be adopted for all non-union employees beginning on 1 January 2026. And this would go towards standardizing benefits across all of our employee groups. And we worked with our CFO and his astute planning, and the cost of increasing the county match for our non-union employees is within the budget.
Thank you. Any questions for Jody?
Motion approved.
Motion by Kelly.
Second.
Second by Mixon. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
All right, 7.8, Resolution 2025-257, provision for the county to make health reimbursement account HRA contributions for non-union employees with at least 1 year of service in the amount of $30 per month. Once again, Jody Riddell, Human Resources Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The HRA resolution before you proposes that the county provide $30 per month into a health reimbursement account for all non-union employees with 1 year of service. Similar to the proposed 457 resolution, this proposal moves the county closer towards standardization of benefits. Again, we've worked closely with the CFO to ensure this cost is within the budget.
Thank you, Jody. Any questions from the commissioners? With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by Mixon. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carried.
And there's no need for executive session this afternoon. With that, all agenda items having been addressed as published, the county board is adjourned.